yesterday we had a really good day. It was a green day, and it was the best day in the small account challenge thus far. Today was not so good, unfortunately. Gave back some of that profit that we earned yesterday. As we can see, I'm red on the day, 560 bucks. Did trade a fair number of shares, so that's probably going to end up being closer to 700 bucks down the day in terms of my equity. So tomorrow we might be looking at about 7,300 in the equity account. So unfortunately, actually, I'm doing this later tonight, so I don't know. This might already have been updated, but anyways, you can see that the equity is obviously decreased quite a bit versus yesterday. That's unfortunate. Um, I can't really blame anything other than my trading today. I don't feel like I was settled this morning as much as I would have liked. There was a lot going on in terms of lots of stocks moving, and um, there were a lot of perceived opportunities there. And there were a lot of things moving. Pretty much everything was green this morning, and there were some breakouts that occurred. Um, but I think I had my mind in too many different spots at once that I found a little discombobulated at the open, and I don't think I was as sharp as I could have been when I was trading. And so I went back and forth between being up, being down, being significantly red, being not so significantly red, and then kind of finishing in between. I was green on the day at one point, so it was just not a smooth day, and I think this was more reflective of what I was seeing before. I was trading predominantly IPOs. Today there wasn't a lot of IPO movement or recent IPO movement, and today it was more conducive of what was happening in the market prior, when it was a little more difficult to trade, and that was occurring today. But my reflection should be that maybe I should have been a little more skeptical on the setups that I was taking. And I did say that I wanted to manage my risk a bit better. I feel like I could have done that a bit better. So overall, I'm not really happy with the way I traded. But it wasn't anything that I couldn't prevent or couldn't improve on going forward. Um, and there were opportunities, and I think that just like I said, because there was so much going on, I wasn't able to focus on certain tickers. There was some FOMO that crept in, because of fear of missing out, because there were some big moves that happened, but I wasn't really able to hone in on them, because I was looking at one thing and then that didn't move, but I was looking at something else and that did, and then I get distracted with that one for a second, and then I'm looking at a different one and that one's moving, and it was just that there were so many different movements happening, and generally I like to keep my watch list to about 4 tickers that I'm really really focused on. And today, I had on my watch list, I think about 12 names, 12 to 14 names that could have potential. I thought had good potential. And I think that actually was a detriment to my overall result. But, anyways, on QS here, we can see this exploded at the open. Look at that. That's 17 points on that candle there, from a low to a high. That's crazy. That's ridiculous, right? And um, so you see that, and I'm watching it, and this was on my watch list. This was on one of my top tickers that I was watching, and I got distracted and missed that. And I think that led to a little bit of frustration or FOMO, and maybe taking a setup that wasn't as good on something else. And that's where some of the poorer trading can occur, is when something like that happens. You miss a 15-point move, even though you projected that it was going to make a good move, right? So like I said, I'm this is we're coming closer to Christmas, and I've spoke about how this is going to be harder. But when the opening of bell occurs and you have so much going on at once, sometimes that can go by the wayside, in terms of your discipline and your strategy and your strategic approach. You may for a split second be like, oh, you know what, that looks good, that pattern looks good. But then you forget that, you know what, there's been less momentum, and there is less volume in general, and it's maybe not had enough consolidation yet, and so you get in too early, and then it doesn't work to what your expectation is. So um, you know right now, it's your margin of error is a little bit smaller. This is almost like when I had to start the account, and my margin of error was very, very small in that I couldn't make mistakes. And I kind of feel like that is where the market is right now. Is you know it's hard to tell which patterns or trades are going to be the ones that work like this one did, QS, that exploded, and where, or other ones where we look at AI, which has been a great trader for me, and it's a recent IPO, and we see this opening candle of a low of 167 and a high of 174, but the pre-market pattern, is up here around 173, right? So it only broke that high bit, just barely, and dipped down, and it was kind of very choppy at the open. But based on how this is trading, you would think that, oh, it's it's going to break the pre-market pattern and continue higher, and it's going to be a smooth trade. And that was one yesterday that I had talked about how it exploded, and I took only 4 points and ended up moving, I think it was, over 10. So today QS did that. So it's like, there's a little more difficulty in deciphering which are going to be the movers and which are not from the opening watch list. I've been really, really good for the most part throughout the challenge on my watch list being on point. And today that was still the case with the QS, for example. But prior to that, there was really no indication that QS would make that move, but there was an indication that AI would. So, like I said, the margin of error is just a little bit different. And, if I could go back and restart the day, I probably would trade much less, maybe wait, throughout the first 15 to 20 minutes for trades, a little bit more, and, pick my spots. And so tomorrow is Wednesday. It's probably going to be the last really good trading day. I would be surprised if I see much opportunity on Thursday. It closes at 1 o'clock, the market. So tomorrow will probably be the last day, but it's still, we're right next to Christmas. So I think that there's going to maybe be some opportunities within the first hour of the day. And then after that, it's going to get very, very light, and in terms of momentum, and there might not be much follow through. So it's unfortunate that I gave back some profit today, but overall in the account, we're still above, I guess we're probably about 200% around there. I was up about 215, but 200%. So I'm unhappy with the way the day went, but overall, on the results of the account, it's obviously been pretty positive. So we're coming to the end of 2020, where like I said, things slow down a little bit. There'll be a couple of trading days next week, and then that'll probably be a little more volume, a little more momentum than maybe we've been seeing, but not entirely yet. And then after New Year's, we can get things back to normal. Historically, it's been a little more bullish, so we'll see how that works in the market. But tomorrow I would like to work on the discipline a little bit, and making sure that I take the setups that I want to take, rather than being drawn in to a potentially big move. It might be a little more on the risk adverse side. And I think actually tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll set my max loss for about 750. Normally I don't really trade with a max loss. If I do, it's usually more than that. But maybe tomorrow what I'll do is I'll set my max loss for about 750. So just in case something happens, I'm not in a situation where, I'm going to be stewing over that, over the next, over Christmas and beyond, not being able to really do much trading. So Maybe I'll set that so, you know, the worst case scenario, I'm still finishing, you know, this time frame or time period with some good gains and etc. I would like to have Green Day tomorrow and finish up, and maybe, like I said, I'll take something out of the account, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how I feel, and we'll see what the market offers.